I've been thinking about this problem of cybersecurity from a slightly different perspective, which is not the packets, the way we think about cybersecurity, but in terms of the pixels and the information and how it is impacting us as individuals, organizations, and societies. Let me start off by just saying that manipulating information is not fundamentally new. You can go all the way back to the early 1900s. Stalin famously airbrushed people out of photographs in an attempt to change history. Fast forward to the beginning of now the digital revolution. This is one of my favorite examples. National Geographic had that photo of the Great Pyramids of Giza. And because of the aspect ratio of the cover, they nudged the Great Pyramid in the background over a few pixels in order to get it to fit. I'm of Egyptian descent. I was particularly offended by this. Other people were outraged. The outrage people had because it was National Geographic and photographs meant something in the 1980s. They meant that this is what happened. And even nudging a pyramid a few pixels was a really big deal, which by today's standards seems like whatever, who cares? Now, fast forward to 2000, I had just started at Dartmouth College as an assistant professor, and now the digital revolution is coming. Digital is on the way up, analog is on the way down, the internet is rising, social media is coming, we're all starting to get really nice cameras in our pockets, and you started to see funny business that were now not darkroom manipulations by a handful of people in the world, but anybody can now, with a little bit of skill and Photoshop, manipulate images. Fast forward another 10, 15 years, and now photo manipulation is getting very, very good. And you could do things like this to put Joe Biden's face onto that guy's body. And this, around here, there was sort of a steady state. We had developed a suite of tools to detect manipulated images. Photoshop was getting better every 18 to 24 months. Digital cameras were getting better every 12 to 18 months, and felt like we had steady state. And then all hell broke loose. And all hell broke loose because of generative AI. And so in 2023, I'm sure vast majority of people saw the Pope in the puffer coat. This image is what sort of broke people's brains, because suddenly they realized that images could no longer be trusted. I mean, welcome to my world, but okay, fine. It was the first time we really started seeing images from generative AI that had passed through the uncanny and were almost indistinguishable from reality. And by the way, lots of people in the media published that photo thinking it was real. And that was a real tipping point about 2 years ago. Just in this last year, Google announced Veo last week. OpenAI announced Sora. We'll hear a little bit from OpenAI later on. And now you can do things like this.
I am a puppet for anyone who can afford me.
How will you know who to trust?
Boomers will believe anything I say.
I will sell you everything.
Every business will use me.
Okay, it just keeps going. All right, one of the things you get to do when you have tenures, you get to do things like this. That video is entirely AI generated from nothing but a prompt. You just type a prompt, full-blown audio video at your fingertips. No digital camera, no Photoshop, no skill, no barrier to entry. And suddenly we live in a world where anybody can create an image or a video of anybody doing or saying anything. What could possibly go wrong? You can go to this website. I don't show you the URL so you don't get enticed to do this. And I'm no kidding, this is the way it works. I pasted in the URL for my LinkedIn profile. It goes and grabs that photo of me up in the top right, and then I can click a button here or enter my own prompt, and it will take my likeness and insert me into any image doing anything they want. And it's a click away. Anybody's LinkedIn profile, a single image of you. That's all I need. And I can put you in prison, holding a gun, doing anything I want. What could possibly go wrong? You already saw the text to video, but there's also very, very powerful deepfake video technology. I'm going to play a video for you. I will tell you that the first 8-9 seconds are real, and then let's see what happens afterwards, yeah? And if you invite me back next year, almost certainly everything will have changed. The nature of the creation of deepfakes, the risk of deepfakes, and the detection of deepfakes is changing. Es un campo en rápida evolución y tenemos que empezar a pensar de manera seria y cuidadosa sobre la amenaza de la desinformación. 私たちは健康、社会、民主主義、経済に影響を与える情報を得るために、ますますインターネットに依存する千里のない時代を生きています。Okay, I don't speak Spanish or Japanese. So this is a video I created by uploading a video. I still say please whenever I ask AI for anything. I don't know why I do that, but I do. I say thank you often. I said, please translate this into Spanish and Japanese. And it took my video, extracted the audio, transcribed it, into English, translated into Spanish and Japanese, generated a new audio in my voice. That wasn't somebody else's voice, that was actually my voice in Spanish and Japanese, and then resynthesized the video with my mouth moving to be consistent, and that was a single button away for a service that I pay $5 a month for. I can take any video of anybody saying anything, and this was just a simple translation, but I can get you to say anything I want in your voice, including a president, a CEO, a judge, anybody. Now, you're going to hear from OpenAI. Sora slammed onto the scene. So those were sort of talking head videos that we could do. But now you can open up Sora on your phone and create what's called a cameo, where it grabs your likeness and your voice. And you can either make videos of you with a text prompt, or you can share that cameo. And Sam Altman did something sort of amazing, which is he shared his cameo. So anybody can create any video of him doing or saying anything. Let's go ahead and watch this video.
Stop right there.
What? I didn't do anything.
Drop the bag.
I took some GPUs. I was going to pay
You walk past the registers, hands behind your back.
Come on, I'm Sam Altman.
Turn around, interlace your fingers right there. You are under arrest for theft. You have the right to remain silent.
So the idea is he's stealing GPUs from Target, which is pretty funny. And it's a good bit. It's a really good bit. But I mean, that's his likeness. That's his voice. It's not perfect. You can see some glitches in it. But imagine now when I can grab your likeness and not just have you say something, but put you getting arrested, committing a crime, doing anything. What could possibly go wrong? Now, you may be thinking, well, you know, I'm pretty good at this. I can look at images and video and I know what's real and what's not. You are 100% wrong. You think you can do this, but you absolutely cannot. And I'm not just saying that because I'm up on stage. I'm saying that because we run perceptual studies. We show people images, we have them listen to audio, we have them listen to video, and we ask them, we prime them. We tell them your job is to determine whether something is real or not, and we incentivize them. We give them bonuses if they can actually do it at a higher accuracy. The images on the top row and the bottom row are all AI generated. The images on the middle row are all real. On this task, chance performance is 50%, and their accuracy is somewhere between 60 and 48%. They're just slightly above chance. The only thing that correlates with performance is your certainty and your ability, but it's inversely proportional. The more confident you are, the worse you are. I call it the arrogance-ignorance problem. You're really bad at this. Your visual system is not able to do this. We are in trouble in terms of our ability to determine what we read and see and hear online is real or not. And this is not hypothetical. We were just in the green room before this, and I was saying that every morning I wake up here on the West Coast, and I've probably got 24 media emails asking me to look at images and video, because every day now, the media is struggling to figure out what's real and not. The courts are struggling. Law enforcement is struggling. National security is struggling. Individuals are struggling. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of that. So this was an image that Governor Newsom published when President Trump released National Guard's troops here in California, condemning the situation. And people said, oh, no, that's fake. And by the way, anytime you see an image with a bunch of red arrows on it, that person has no idea what they're doing. It's just a good ballpark understanding of this. And so now what's happening is people are releasing real images of actual events happening, and then people online being like, no, it's fake. And so we get to deny reality. Right? It's called the liar's dividend. So that's one problem. It's not fake content, but in a world where things can be faked, I get to just deny anything that is inconvenient to me. This is an image on your left here of the guy who was responsible for the mosque bombing recently. That image was from his fake Facebook profile from 2019. It shows a Trump logo. A Democratic member of the Senate tweeted that out and said, MAGA is responsible for most of the violent acts in this country. People were very upset about that, and then started posting that image on the right, where they digitally manipulated it to remove the Trump logo. And now you go on to social media and you see both of these images. And you're like, okay, now which one is real? The original image is real, the one on the left, but that one's fake, and now we suddenly muddy the waters, and now we don't know what to do, right? It's a really smart strategy, by the way. Just muddy the waters. You don't have to remove that image, just make another version of it. In fact, make 20 versions of it, right? The signal-to-noise ratio plummets. This is a good strategy. Images like this show up on Twitter all the time. People are using it to rip us apart as a society because they're playing into these stereotypes. And we fall for it. You should see what happens when these images. You can see what happens on the tweet and on Instagram and on TikTok. They are using this to drive a wedge between us as individuals and a society. This is an image that was circulating after European leaders visited the White House to talk to President Trump about Ukraine. And it was used to sort of humiliate the European leaders. Again, every day you see things like this. And I just want to use this example to spend a few minutes talking about what we can do about this. I don't want to just stand up here and say we are screwed because we can't trust anything we see or hear online. We are, don't get me wrong. But one of the things we are doing both in my lab here at Berkeley and in the company Get Real Security is trying to develop techniques that can authenticate content so that we can determine if what we are seeing is real or not. And I just want to spend a few minutes thinking about, talking about that. This is just the platform we built. We work with most of the major news outlets to help them authenticate content when they come in, big news stories around the world. You drop the content in, image, audio, or video, and it runs a battery of tests. You can see the categories over there on the right. I won't go through all of them, but a few things I think are worth pointing out. So one is we've developed a number of AI models or machine learning models. They tend to be fairly lightweight. These are not particularly complicated models that look at different aspects of an image. Sometimes it's the underlying pixel value. Sometimes it's the underlying noise pattern. Other things that I won't talk about publicly because this is a cybersecurity problem. And these things can tell us whether there are patterns that are consistent with generative AI or natural photographs. Really nice, just sort of the workhorses of these techniques. But then we can do really cool things like, the thing you have to understand about generative AI is that it is not aware of the physical world. It is fundamentally a statistical inference engine. It has built a really, really good statistical probability distribution in a very low dimensional space that it can draw from for images, audio, and video. And that means it doesn't know about cameras or lenses or lights or perspective or geometry or physics. And while it can mimic them fairly well, it makes a lot of mistakes. So here's one of my favorite examples. On this image, I've annotated 1, 2, 3, 4 lines that are in the physical world on a single plane. That's the wall there. And they are all parallel, or you can reasonably infer they should be parallel. What do we know about parallel lines on a single planar surface? They should converge to a single vanishing point. It's perspective geometry. In fact, Renaissance painters have known about this for 100 years now. All right, but the geometry of these images is simply wrong. And you can see that by the failure of those lines to intersect. And so we can make physical measurements and determine whether something is physically plausible or not, adding evidence to our ability to detect these things. I want to just finish with a quick thought, which is I've been talking about generative AI, and generative AI has absolutely been an accelerant in our denying of reality and our blurring of reality and fiction. You can't deny that. But it is in and of itself not alone. This would not be the issue were it not for social media, which is the distribution channel, and the amplification that leverages and profits from outrage and conspiratorial thinking and sensation. So if it wasn't for the social media that we have today, the X's and the Facebooks, it would be a very different landscape. But it's also, on top of that, is we are a highly polarized society. And so these narratives work. The narrative demonizing the left works, the narrative demonizing the right works. So we have a polarization problem. We also have a demonization problem. We are demonizing others. We are demonizing experts and scientists and professors and politicians and those in the media. And not only are we demonizing, we're threatening their lives. And so that demonization, that when I say this image of Donald Trump is real, I get a barrage of hate mail and death threats. Why? Because I've said something that you disagree with. Okay. And lastly is that distrust, that all of these things have led to a deeper problem in society, is that we no longer trust each other. We don't trust the experts, we don't trust the government, we don't trust the media, we don't trust each other. And when you stack all these things together, that's a deep problem for society. And I would argue that's not a uniquely American thing, by the way. We see this everywhere around the world. And all of these things are ripping us apart as a society and as a democracy, and we've got to take that seriously. I don't think we can just ignore this the way we ignored the last 20 years in the technology sector and hope everything ends well.